folks, welcome in. Seven Wheels Racing, KQE GTV. I'm Dan Dyker, coming off two big nights of racing at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway and the Crosse Speedway. Just a couple of weeks left at both racetracks, but some huge races. Both Bob Tim at MTS and Chuck Deary at La Crosse have saved the best for the last. And we're going to give you the schedules of what you can expect between now and October at both racetracks. First off, as we do every program, we'll give you a video recap of what happened in last week's races at the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway, starting with the La Crosse NASCAR late models. And there was a point in the late model feature race where you didn't think Steve Carlson was going to be able to catch Mike Kenneke and Matt Henderson, as those two ran bumper to bumper for almost 18 laps until a late race wreck knocked them both out of contention, and all of a sudden big eyes came about for the king of the short track, Steve Carlson, and he picked himself up yet into the feature win. And what this does now, that extends his point lead on the race season over Brad Powell in the 23 by 65. Carlson 688, Powell 623. Anything can happen on a given night. I mean, you can gain and lose 50 points just like that, but the way Steve's been driving this year, he's been just simply flawless. And he was, matter of fact, the only NASCAR late model this year, or this past weekend, I should say, to drop under a 22nd lap at about a 19.725, I think is what it was. So Steve Carlson wins the race. Harley Jankowski impressive in second, and third was Brad Powell. Now, we're going to show you what happened to the race leaders. It's Mike Kenneke destroyed his car 2 weeks ago, spends 2 weeks building it back up, and he and Matt Henderson ran bumper to bumper for many, many laps. Got in a little bit of laugh traffic with John Eckelberg and Steve Owen, and we're going to show you the video here on what exactly happened up in turn 3. And I've heard from both drivers, they said that in the radios, they're screaming, get down, get down, get down. Leaders are coming, and there go your two race leaders right there. Henderson had probably the most solid night he's had all season long. And see if we can show you this again. We're going to slow it down. On the back straightaway, you've got Kenneke the 19, Henderson the 33. They're getting around Jonathan Eckelberg, and then Steve Owen. As we slow it down, Matt told me he knew he had enough room to get by Eckelberg right here. And Owen looks to have dropped down. Kenneke drifted up, caught the back end of Owen. Henderson said he mashed his brakes as hard as he could and actually cut a tire down when he came back out and couldn't finish the race. So it's anybody's guess really is actually what happened right there. But it's going to be how it is. That's how racing goes. Sometimes you hate to see that, especially the spirited battle that those two were having. So we go from the late models to the sportsman and another wreck here. Well, we're going to show that after the last two of the feature race. Steve Bachman picked the perfect time of the year to start picking things back up. Led the point season, dropped back, fell off the pace for 2 or 3 weeks, allowed Nick Clements and Jamie Dummer to catch him to make it a four-way battle for the championship night. But once Kyle Bachman found himself some clearing, he made this quite interesting. Even Brian Hesselberg, who tailed back for the last 4 or 5 laps, made it a 4-car shootout. And Bachman had to hold off Nick Clements, who won the feature 2 weeks ago, and had to hold off Hesselberg, who won the feature 3 weeks ago, and then had to hold off the point leader, Greg Scheck, of the number 2 car. So here we go into the corners of 3 and 4. Clements decides, hey, I'm going to run the outside rail. Scheck thought maybe he could take a peek to the inside, and the mad dash was on right at the line at about 84 mile an hour. You see Steve Bachman just topped the fastest lemonade stand on wheels by about a bumper. And for Steve Bachman, well, he makes the points race that much more interesting. It's now a 10-point lead for Greg Scheck over Steve Bachman. Nick Clements, who popped himself into the 4th position last week, now finds himself a little bit deeper. Jamie Dummer was caught up into an accident and may have tailed back just a bit, but you're going to see those 4 drivers going up all the way until Oktoberfest. Now, Tom Lethe told me on the radio program last week that one of his goals for the rest of the year is he wanted to make a 6-for-6 dash. Well, he finally did that. It was one of the fastest 6 qualifiers. Then he said he wanted to finish in the top 5 of the feature. Well, that didn't happen here, as he and Jamie Dummer and Bachman on the brakes, gets turned around, up into the wall. Not really sure how bad the damage was, but you see him rocking the wall about 3 different times. Dummer had to go back into the pit area to get things fixed. He came back out and finished towards the back of the pack. This is just hard-charging racing right here, and I'm going to have my guest kind of talk about this as well when he comes on to the program. Good thing, a lot of people, even including myself, as soon as I saw his back end get lifted up, I'm thinking he's going over that Kinetic sign over the turn 3 wall. Luckily, both drivers were okay. As for Lethe's total damage, we won't find out till about midweek as to the extent of what he's planning on doing for the rest of the season. So you saw how they finalized each other, and again, it's only a 10-point lead now between Scheck and Bachman, and things are really going to get tight here over the next 2 weeks, and then Oktoberfest. To the Thunder stocks we go. Andy Moore coming back out again on the action track quarter mile. Always fast, that Orange 19. We had some exciting racing going on here as Cotton Candy Kid Kayla Steinhoff and Jason Bolster race each other around the track. Bolster was on their bumper, a couple of love taps several times around. Back up front, it was Andy Moore and Tom Farr racing each other around. You're going to see here in turn 1, they get side by side as the other competitors come around. That didn't help because Bolster's your point leader. Well, they're going to see he caused the caution. Matter of fact, he got black flagged right there. Gets a DNF as he comes off the racetrack. So back up front, the lead then went to Andy Moore and Tom Farah. Well, Andy Moore didn't pass the post-race inspection, so Tom Farah, who would have finished 4th, finishes in the top spot. It was Ron White, Bill Shaw, Caleb Ray Lockington, and Jacinda Paff running on the top 5. Bolster's now lead over Jordan Myers is cut to 3. And Jason Schaller, who broke, I think, one of his heads cracked, couldn't complete in that race. And then more. So you've got 4 still in the top contention for the points championship. To the Hornets we go. We went to Hornets, Bornets, and Nate Towner. Those guys have been dominant on this action track quarter mile for quite a many years, and you see them split off all the pace cars. And Nate Towner, who always brings one of the classiest Hornets to the racetrack every single year, even topped one of his former cars out there, Travis Lee in the 20. After the slicing and dicing, it was Nate Towner on a Trumpolo getting the Hornet feature win. Mark Borden started this race towards the back and climbed his way through. You've also seen that same car at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway running in the Flyers class up there. And what this does is it tightens up the points race as well, as Towner sits 2 points behind Mark Bornett. So you've got about 4 or 5 drivers that have a solid chance of the championship, and those 2 right there are going to take this all the way down. One more video to show you. That was the Outlaws. It didn't end how Cole Schulze driving Fat Phyllis wanted it to end, but something happened. He takes the race lead during the feature, and you see Wayne Smith down there in the Bounty Hunter was trying to catch back up. Schulze came out of turn 4, and the car just shut down to the front straightaway. Made it a 2-car battle for Wayne Smith to stay in the points race as well. And Chase Schulze, got to give him some credit. That's Cole's younger brother. Only the second time that number 12 down there has been able to drive a rear-wheel drive car. And he's doing a little bit better. Said he really felt good shaking it down at practice last week. So Cole Schulze and Wayne Smith are going to take that one down to Oktoberfest. One more note, William Klatch of Alaska on the tough truck competition. When we come back, Mississippi Thunder Speedway results time. That and more on 7 Rivers Racing.
Get ready for the Thunder!
The Mississippi Thunder Speedway.
Your Friday night racing destination.
Every Friday night.
Super stocks, modified.
600 mods.
Pure stocks, street stocks, B-mods.
It's racing excitement, dirt track style. Tickets $12 for adults, $10 for seniors. Students free with an ID. And this year, kids 17 and under free with an adult admission. Friday night racing starts at 7.
Bring on the Thunder!
Dirt track style at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway.
Highway 35 just north of Fountain City.
Some of the best moments in life happen at home. American Standard Heating and Air works smarter to make them all more comfortable.
For a limited time, save over $600 on select American Standard systems. Call now for details.
Holman American Legion Post 284. It's all about veterans' rights, quality of life. The Legion belongs to the veterans it serves. The American Legion supports Holman High School sports and local NASCAR racing. Did you know the Legion is open to the public? Stop by for a cold one. Tuesday lunch is a home-cooked meal. Supper is Buck Burgers. Thursday, it's tacos. They can be the place for your wedding reception or meeting. Holman American Legion. It's for veterans and for the people of Holman.
At Cousin Subs, we never settle for good. We always strive for better. Since 1972, we've been creating our signature Deli Fresh subs. We start with fresh bread that's baked every day. Then we freshly chop vegetables and slice the meat daily. It's how we do it, and always have. Why? Because you deserve better.
We're back, Summer's Racing, KQEG TV. I'm Dan Dyker. Hey, coming up La Crosse Speedway this weekend, it's the Alive for Five Fantastic Five night. I think this may be the first time, at least as long as I've been in La Crosse, we've done this. 5 20-lap features coming up this weekend. It's 2 for the NASCAR late models, 2 for the Mid-American Stock Car Series, which is coming through for the first time this year, and I get the luxury of announcing those cars this year, and 1 for the Sportsman. So 50 total. Well, actually more than 50. It's over 100 extra laps going to be thrown in there this weekend. And, of course, the Thunder Stocks will be back out, and the final Kids Ride night of the year. And then in 2 weeks, as we close out the regular season, it's Buck Night again. All beer, soda, food, just $1. We expect a huge crowd for that. And then the Enduro, August 30th, Street Stock Championship. And then we'll be back for Oktoberfest, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of October. We go to the Mississippi Thunder Speedway. I mean, you talk about some fantastic racing in La Crosse. We saw the same thing in MTS this weekend. And Craig Myers in one class and Brad Waits in another. These guys are phenomenal. You can start them in the back of a pack for these big divisions that they run, and where they finish, either winning, second, third, has been going on all year. We saw that again. George Richards takes home the Pure Stocks. Richards Racing has had a phenomenal year at MTS this year. Joe Provenzino takes home the 600 mods, driving somebody else's car, but he's a wheelman. He knows how to get it done. Josh Angst, former track champ, USRA modified feature winner. Dan Gullickson held off everybody in the Super Stocks. Danny Richards wins the Street Stocks. Ben Anderson won the B mods, driving in a different car this year. Matt LeDuc wins the A Mini Modifieds, his 5th of the year. And Braden Brower took over the B Mini Modifieds, his 8th of the year. Coming up this Friday night, it's a USMTS Modified Special, part of the hunt for the USMTS Casey's Cup and Ironman B mods. A lot of good racing coming up. Told you, both of these promoters at La Crosse and MTS have saved some of the biggest for the last. And then this $100,000 third annual Bayman B-Mod National format is really growing. Check out MississippiThunder.com because they have all 4 days now what the schedule is going to look like for this huge event. Last year, we had drivers from 15 states, over 250 B-Mods. Probably one of the biggest USRA B-Mods you're going to see in the entire nation coming up the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of September. One of our drivers that not involved in that part of the program, but will be racing that night, is my guest in the program. He's a pure stock driver at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, and we like to bring in Kyle Solberg. Kyle, how are you,
Thanks.
sir? Good to have you on the program.
Glad to be here.
Got to know Kyle over, I've been up there 4 years now, and watched you race a couple years before that. He drives the number 3 pure stock. It's a Nova at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway, and you're having a blast on dirt.
It's a little interesting with the rear-wheel drive car, and especially having the old Nova, but it's fun to see the older cars back out on the track. So it's a work in progress. I keep saying when I first started, I started driving Hornets, and for me to get used to a rear-wheel drive car, and we thought it'd be best to try this out first.
You know, a lot of people have asked me, knowing that I announced at both tracks, what the difference between a pure stock is and a La Crosse Thunder stock. La Crosse, we have a lot of Monties, a lot of Monty-type bodies. And then at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, we've got a little bit of everything. We've got Fords, we've got Novas, we've got, some Chevy Monte Carlos up there. But the two classes are very, very similar.
Very similar. Dirt-wise,
Tires, obviously.
Tires, obviously. Dirt cars, a lot of people are buying what they can in the off season, and a lot of people are buying street stock chassis and hobby stock chassis, and it's a little different versus asphalt, and setup is completely different. And
shocks and springs are probably entirely different as well.
Exactly. And with me, I run leaf springs, so I'm only limited on so much I can do, but
right.
But yeah, it's just like anything else. Racing asphalt to dirt, there's no difference. Just a little different setup, but yeah.
Well, we've got some in-car video we're going to show you now of Kyle Solberg in his number 3 at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway. We've done some in-car with, say, Casey Caducin this year. We've had some Josh Angst. We've had some other drivers as well. And, of course, this is going to be totally different because this is an open cockpit compared to the A and the B mods. When you look at the setup right here, start with the roll cage. The 4 or 6 point roll cage?
This is actually, I believe it's a 6 point. It's kind of a makeshift. This car has been, the history of this car actually started out in Decorah, and we kind of traced it back a little bit, but this car has been around for a while, and the way the setup is, you know, most cockpits are open on the passenger side, and I got a few bars going through there. All in all, it's pretty much the same thing, and it's very, you know, it keeps me a lot safer in there.
Sure. You know, something that I noticed when I watched this video are your hands. At La Crosse Speedway and the Thunder Stocks, we have a lot of drivers that will just drive with their left hand, period. The other one's up on the seat, or, you know, totally different away from the car. And I noticed your driving style here is you use the 2 hands. How hard is it to drive one hand on dirt?
It's very hard. The first time we had this car out, I was actually using 2 hands in the corner, and I didn't want to oversteer it, and I would always catch the steering wheel with my right hand. Well, when the car gets a little kittywampus in the corner and gets a little out of shape, it's hard to cross your right hand over your left. So now it's got.
I've noticed that driving a Hornet car.
Yep.
That doesn't work. That's not like turning a corner off a Losey Boulevard in La Crosse.
It's easier for me doing it this way now. But when you're in traffic, you're going to use 2 hands. So it's, you know, the 10 and 2 position, so to speak. But, I mean, it's a lot to get used to. And for me, the car's been working all right, but it's taken me a year to get there. So,
sure.
But there's always something you can fix on it and do better at. So.
Well, Kyle Solberg is my guest from the Mississippi Thunder Speedway. He is in a pure stock at MTS. When we come back, we're going to talk about more about the car, the track promoter, and the other gentleman that he, and ladies, that he runs with this year is Elizabeth Loberg is in a pure stock this year. We're going to talk about that and more coming up next on the 7 Rivers Racing Show.
We're here when the sun rises. And when the bread rises too. And we're here slicing a deli fresh every day. And every morning, we're chopping it all up. Why do we put so much effort into making it fresh? Because you deserve better.
Holman American Legion Post 284. It's all about veterans' rights, quality of life. The Legion belongs to the veterans it serves. The American Legion supports Holman High School sports and local NASCAR racing. Did you know the Legion is open to the public? Stop by for a cold one. Tuesday lunch is a home-cooked meal. Supper is Buck Burgers. Thursday, it's tacos. They can be the place for your wedding reception or meeting. Holman American Legion. It's for veterans and for the people of Holman.
Some of the best moments in life happen at home. American Standard Heating and Air works smarter to make them all more comfortable.
For a limited time, save over $600 on select American Standard systems. Call now for details.
Get ready for the Thunder!
The Mississippi Thunder Speedway.
Your Friday night racing destination.
Every Friday night.
Super stocks, modifieds,
600 mods.
pure stocks, street stocks, B mods.
It's racing excitement, dirt track style. Tickets $12 for adults, $10 for seniors. Students free with an ID. And this year, kids 17 and under free with an adult admission. Friday night racing starts at 7.
Bring on the Thunder!
Dirt track style at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway.
Highway 35 just north of Fountain City.
We're back one more time. It's 7 Hours Racing, K2AG TV. I'm Dan Dyker. My guest from the Mississippi Thunder Speedway, Kyle Solberg out of Holcomb, Minnesota. Third year he's had the gold number 3 Nova add to MTS. And, let's go back to a couple of years ago when he first brought the car out. If you look at what the track was like then compared to now, and the dirt and the clay that Bob Tim has brought into that racetrack and how he's made that track look, that's got to be really encouraging to a driver, to yourself, to know that you're being taken care of like that.
I mean, it's just like any dirt track. I mean, some nights you're going to have real bad nights, and it always happens in the spring, depending on how long winters we have and stuff like that. But usually the end of June, first part of July, the surface becomes great, and it pretty much stays consistent. You might have a night that it doesn't work out too well, but and you're always going to get, for the first half of the season, you're always going to get ruts in the track. And,
sure.
And that's a given on dirt. I mean, everybody's at the same disadvantage when they come to the track, and everybody knows where their car likes to run and where it doesn't. And, it's just something you can't control. But
especially this past weekend, because and this is no fault of anybody at the track. The early portion of the program, there was a rut going into turn 1 and one coming out of turn 4. And several times, Bob Tim and his staff had to get those trucks back out there to get things underway and smoothed out. It took a lot off during the intermission program, but it didn't seem like it fazed anybody after intermission. That track got really, really racy.
Yep, the feature was actually really great. We didn't really have any low lines. You still had a little bit of a berm at the top of the track, and the loose dirt, you're always going to have that at the top. But I mean, pretty much any lane that you wanted to, you could pretty much drive. Whether or not you're searching for grip, that's a different story. But
right.
At least everything was smooth, and we didn't have any ruts or any problems like that. So.
Talk about the overall track itself. I've heard nothing but positive from every single driver there, and on what the pit areas look like between turn 1 and 2. Now you've got a brand new pit area towards the back straightaway over the wall. More clays come in, more dirts come in. I mean, that to me has turned into one of the finest dirt facilities I've seen in a long time.
It's totally different. When I started out racing Hornets, I started out racing 4-cylinders, and they had what they call the flyer class. We started out in Decorah, and with that track being as small, and then we ran back when it was tri-oval, we came up and ran a few nights up there, and it's just an astronomical change. It's fast, it's racy, and a lot more speed that you can carry versus probably Decorah and everything else. But Decorah is a great track too, and
sure.
And we're kind of at the center of the mecca of different tracks. We got Deer Creek, we got West Union. You can kind of pick and choose which track you want to go to.
You've got Chateau, and you've got Decorah, and you've got 4 or 5 in this area. And that's what I like about being where we are, because we get a different flavor of drivers. From if somebody gets a rain out or someone's track's not ready, they're coming to Mississippi Thunder.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And the more cars we have, the greater the turnout, the greater the show we like to put on for the fans.
Talk about the class itself. This is one of the most hard-charging classes we have. Whether you guys have 10 or 15 out there, it's always anybody's guess who's going to get a feature win.
I mean, the first part of the season with myself, who've been, trying to figure out this new motor and stuff like that, and in the last 3 weeks, I've gotten a grasp on driving in this rubber slick, but it's very fast. We're all in the top pack, and we're pretty much all of us run consistent, and it makes for good racing, and I hope the fans love it.
Well, I know they have, and I know there's a lot of lacrosse folks that have ventured up this year to get 2 nights of race, and they'll go up and watch the dirt track on Friday, and they'll come watch lacrosse on a Saturday night, and they've had nothing but positive to say. We have a $100,000 payout weekend coming up with this Bayman BMOD national format. That's going to be kind of cool to say, I drive at a racetrack that's going to have a $100,000 weekend.
It is interesting, and yeah, it's fun to say that, and the biggest thing is seeing the pits all filled and everything else, and it's hard to there's a lot of tracks that people like a certain way, and they don't have time to go to all of them.
Right.
And some of them may have a lot better turnout attendance-wise than some of the others, but yeah, the shows like this one coming up is definitely going to put people in the stands.
Well, again, this Friday night, it's the USMTS Modified Special, part of the hunt for the USMTS Casey's Cup and the Ironman B mods, along with the regular classes starting at 6, and then the third mile starts at 7. And then the big weekend, the $100,000 weekend, is coming up the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of September. And I got kind of jazzed this year. I found out, I announced at Oktoberfest at La Crosse all 4 days. You guys had your Fall Fest the same weekend. This year, it's a week later, so I actually get a chance to announce Oktoberfest and the Fall Fest, and then take a week of vacation.
Yeah, I've always wanted to, go down and check out maybe a few races down in Oktoberfest, and we've always been racing that weekend, and I do have a few buddies that I know that go down to watch, and I'm like, sorry, I'm at MTS, but it's fun no matter where you go. It all comes down to the people that you go to the track with and the people that follow you. And, you may have a bad day and stuff like that, but as long as maybe a kid from the stands or people come out to watch and come up and say hi, like the way you run, and, it makes it all worth it. So
it does. We're running out of time of the program. Do want to let you have a chance to talk about your sponsors, because I know you've got some fantastic folks helping you out this year.
Yeah, definitely. We got Jerry Linander, Specialized Transportation. We also have Tom and Nancy Greshner, Fabricating Technologies. They built the power plant for the car this year. And we have Davidson Trucking, and of course, my boss and what I do for a profession, J-Line Design, and we also have custom advertising. So whenever we're not so busy business-wise, we're bring the car in, kind of putz around with the car and try and make it faster whenever we can, whenever we have time.
Well, those guys do a great job of wrapping cars, and I think I ran into you at a Quick Trip earlier this race season. I hadn't realized the connection right there until I saw you back at the racetrack. And J-Line Designs does a great job on the wraps. Just look at some of those out there at the Speedway, and I'm sure you guys have a Facebook as well.
Facebook, not so much. We do have a website.
Good.
And what we want to do is
drop it.
Yeah, it's www.j-linedesign.com, and our numbers are on there if you have any questions, or whether it's not just race car, whether it's vehicle lettering, indoor outdoor signage, the whole package. Just give us a call. But yeah, the race cars, we started that about 3 or 4 years ago. The business has been going for about 5 to 6, but we started doing race cars, and then it kind of got busier and busier as seasons went on. So I think this year we're at around 23, 25 cars that we've wrapped this year. So.
All righty, well, good deal. J-Line Designs, and that's Kyle Solberg. He's in one of those cars that's been wrapped, and pure stock driver up in Mississippi Thunder. If you get a chance, tell me you saw him on the program, and go down and meet Kyle and his entire crew. We're running out of time, though, but we will see you for the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll see you at Oktoberfest La Crosse.
All right,
Kyle Solberg, folks, check him out. And I want more of that in-car video. Just look him up on YouTube, and I'm sure he's got quite a bit that you can check out up there. Big weekend coming up on Mississippi Thunder and La Crosse. We'll recap it next week right here on 7 Rivers Racing.